In today's video, we're gonna wind back the clock to Survivor Series 2019. In case you didn't know, that was the best Survivor Series in recent memory because it pit NXT, Smackdown, and Raw all together against each other for brand supremacy. So in today's video, I'm making a dream Survivor Series match between Raw, Smackdown, and NXT on both the men's and the women's side. I'll tell you who I pick and why I think they make sense to be added to these super teams. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if you want even more daily content, don't forget the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload so much more content that never gets uploaded to YouTube. Check the link in the description, the link in the pinned comment. But now let's jump into the video. Let's start things off by talking about the women of Monday Night Raw. And I firmly believe that the women of Monday Night Raw should be captained and spearheaded into war by the women's world champion, Liv Morgan. And why not? Liv Morgan, as the women's world champion, is at the top of the food chain on Monday Night Raw, and she's been in that position basically since right after WrestleMania 40. Since WrestleMania 40, she's defeated the likes of Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley to win the title. She has really catapulted herself to not just a one-off main event feud caliber person, but as somebody that's going to be in the main event perennially for the rest of her career, most likely. In fact, when myself and other wrestling creators make videos at the end of the year doing our end of the year awards, many of us are going to have to strongly consider Liv Morgan as the breakout superstar of all of 2024. Additionally, she kind of represents Monday Night Raw pretty darn well, considering she's been featured heavily on Monday Night Raw and has been part of one of the most high-profile feuds on all of WWE TV, which happens to be playing out on Monday Night Raw, that being the feud between her and Rhea Ripley, which also involves Dirty Dominic Mysterio. So you include the fact that she's been highly featured on Monday Night Raw, the fact that she's having a career year, the fact that her resume really does speak for itself, and the fact that she recently won the Saudi Crown Jewel Championship. To me, it's a no-brainer that you gotta have Liv Morgan on here. And why don't we create some chaos by adding Rhea Ripley to this team, Liv Morgan's absolute mortal enemy? It's funny because in a traditional sense, I would hate for this to happen without it making any sense. But the fact that this is just a traditional Survivor Series match means that there's nothing at stake. There isn't an overall story arc. It's just brand supremacy. So it's basically the brands, the general managers, forcing these two to be on the same team, and they can't really do anything about it. And if I'm a general manager, even if there's just so much beef between the people on my team, there's no way that I'm missing the opportunity of having one of the most dominant women in the history of this sport, Rhea Ripley, on my team. Not only is she a physically imposing force, but she also arguably, and I would say definitively actually, brings the most star power on Monday Night Raw from the women's division to my team. She is far and away the most popular woman that I have on this team. And just like Liv Morgan, she's been a cornerstone of Monday Night Raw, not just in 2024 with her feud with Liv Morgan, but over the last several years with her involvement in the Judgment Day. Let's not forget in 2023 when the Judgment Day basically started and closed almost every single episode of Monday Night Raw, and Rhea Ripley was right there for all of those moments. She was also the first ever women's world champion out of Monday Night Raw, so to me, I don't think that very many of you are going to be fighting this one. I feel like this is an obvious one. The only hiccup here is the fact that as of the making of this video, we don't know necessarily whether Rhea Ripley is going to be out for a week, 2 weeks, or out for 8-9 months with this injury that she has to her orbital bone. But hey, this is a fantasy booking video. Who the hell cares about injuries? If Rhea Ripley is available, I'm putting her on my team. If we're looking for the best available talent from the women's division to add to my team to give my Monday Night Raw team the best chance of winning, then I don't think that there's a better choice right now than Io Sky. I don't know if this qualifies as a hot take, but on the main roster, I think that Io Sky is the best women's wrestler in the WWE. There's just no such thing as a bad Io Sky match, whether it's her singles matches or her tag team matches. And actually, the fact that she plays nicely as both a single superstar and the fact that she has lots of experience as of recently in the women's tag team division actually makes her an asset here as well, because we now have somebody in Io Sky that can work as an individual or come together to do nice tag team movesets as part of this Raw tag team. So in terms of best available talent, to me, it's Io Sky, but in terms of popularity, she's up there as well. In terms of resume, the things that she's accomplished in the WWE, to me, it's a no-brainer that you got to bring her onto your team if she's available for it. So I really debated on the next couple of slots, and I wanted to make the Monday Night Raw team team pretty much all entirely individuals, because I could have gone with Kairi Sane or I could have gone with Raquel Rodriguez, but I wanted everybody here to have an individual identity. So that's why I'm going with Zelina Vega as my next option, because she is sneaky good and does not get enough of an opportunity to demonstrate just how damn good she actually is. You know, I've mentioned that I think that Io Sky might be the best in-ring women's wrestler in the main roster of WWE, but I think that Zelina Vega might be the best women's promo in the main roster of the WWE. I can't think of somebody that's better than her on the mic, and it's criminal that even on the mic, where she's so much better than everyone else, she doesn't get an opportunity either. But I feel like she would be a valuable asset in the ring because she's sneaky good and can do some really fun moves and can be thrown around by the likes of Rhea Ripley as a battering ram if they wanted to. But also, she can be the mouthpiece of the team to really help the team get over as we build up to the actual match. Plus, find me somebody that would complain about getting more Zelina Vega, because that person doesn't exist. Last but not least, I wanted to add some new blood, some young blood to this team, and I'm adding the most recent NXT call-up from the women's division in Lyra Valkyria. I feel like Lyra Valkyria is just so underutilized right now. She is too damn good to only appear every couple of episodes of Monday Night Raw. I'm basically picking Lyra Valkyria because of the untapped potential that she brings to this team, the fact that I've seen her body of work extensively in NXT, and the fact that we've seen her go toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in professional wrestling and give them either their best match of the year or give them a really, really close competitive bout. Plus, we need to continuously breathe new blood into our divisions here, and I feel like Lyra Valkyria is likely going to be a future multi-time women's world champion, and why not bring that spotlight onto her early on in her career with this Survivor Series match. Now let's go over to the Blue Brand, Friday Night Smackdown. And just like over on Monday Night Raw, I'm gonna have this team be championed by their women's world champion in Nia Jax. And I feel like at this point, you and everybody that hates Nia Jax just needs to stop. All right, it's over, all right? That train has left. Nia Jax is good. Just be okay with that. Just like how we were talking about Liv Morgan potentially being a breakout superstar of the year, Nia Jax has to be in that conversation as well, whether you like it or not, fellas. I know that her in-ring work isn't necessarily everybody's favorite, but when she puts on a good match, dear Lord, she can actually tear the house down with her opponent. She just recently did with Naomi on Friday Night Smackdown, and we can look back at her awesome match at SummerSlam with Bayley as one of my favorite matches of the year, believe it or not. She also just has a commanding presence, somebody that can actually lead a team to war, somebody that could actually get people in line. And I feel like this would actually be a strength of hers over her counterpart captain in Liv Morgan. Whether they want to follow her or she makes them follow her, she's going to be going into this match with a cohesive army. And her best soldier is her best soldier actually on WWE TV, that being Tiffany Stratton. Obviously, we have the connection that already works really well between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax that's playing out on WWE TV, but she's also just incredibly amazing. Tiffany Stratton is the future of women's wrestling. Like, it's inevitable. You can already see her in terms of her character work, and we already know from her in-ring work that she is absolutely a generational talent for the WWE. And if we're trying to showcase the best of the best from our brands, then we cannot ignore the fact that we have a generational gem in Tiffany Stratton available for the picking for the SmackDown team. It also creates an interesting situation about her potentially being the cash-in during this match. Who knows? So for Monday Night Raw, I tried to create an entirely individualistic personality for every single pick that I had. But for Friday Night SmackDown, I don't think that I can do that because there's so many intertwining storylines and tag teams that are just such an integral part of WWE TV. One of these being the super team of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill as the women's tag team champion. And if we're doing a showcase of the best, then it makes sense to have the women's tag team champions be part of one of these teams. And since they're both part of SmackDown, they fall here kind of by default. But not even by default. Like, let's pretend that there weren't women's world tag team champions. I'd still probably pick Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill to be part of this team. These two are megastars, such megastars that they're dragging the lifeless corpse of the women's tag team division into continuous PLE appearances, because if it wasn't for these two, these titles would never appear, in my opinion. It's just a cherry on top that they're a team and we're going into a tag team match, and this could be a huge asset for Team Smackdown. But like I said, I'm not really just relying on the fact that they're women's tag team champions as the reason for adding them on this team, because individually they'd probably both be on here. Well, look who's back. Miss Charlotte Flair, and everyone collectively groaned and ended this video. Look, Charlotte is just around the corner from returning. If she had just gotten injured and I knew that she was going to be out for several months, I wouldn't add her on here. I'd probably have Bayley or Naomi. Actually, let's be honest, I'd probably have Chelsea Green on here. But if Charlotte is going to be available, this is who you add to your team. Plus, this puts Charlotte Flair in an interesting position with potential dream matches that we really want to see, like her and Jade Cargill, her and Bianca Belair, a rematch against Rhea Ripley, a match against Io Sky. There's so many cool little threads that could be started just by having Charlotte in this match. Plus, if you have the most decorated women's champion of all time available, you're gonna put her on the team, dude. Oh, that's what happens when you use real glass. Oh my God! What? Io with a tombstone? Oh my God.
No, that's even worse.
That, folks, was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively over on patreon.com/Santizan. This week, we're going to be looking at the wild supermarket brawl between Booker T and Stone Cold Steve Austin. We have a match for the TNA World title between AJ Styles and Bully Ray. We're looking at the carnage that was King of the Ring 2001 between Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle. We're once again going to Japan, watching Io Sky take on Utami in Marigold in 2024. And we're wrapping up the week with the instant classic that was Walter versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK title. You're going to be getting these watch-alongs alongside the Undertaker Streak watch-along, the Royal Rumble watch-along, the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everywhere else. We've also just launched a Patreon exclusive Discord page where this week we're going to be watching Ready to Rumble together as a community. So if you want to get access to all of this, which is all content that can never appear on YouTube, go over to patreon.com/Santizan. Head on over there, give it 1 month. I'm confident that you're going to fall in love with it, because not only do you get so much more content that never appears on YouTube, but it's a really tight community over there as well of wrestling fans. I'll put the link in the description for you, as well as the link in the pinned comment. Just come on by. That's it, folks. If you're a patron, thank you for your support. Let's get back to the video. Let's go over to the women's side of NXT, because everyone's always saying about how the women's division in NXT is the most stacked women's division that there is in the entire planet. So let's see how true it is. If Raw and SmackDown are walking in with their champions as captain, then let's just do the same thing for NXT as well here. Roxanne Perez has been one of the most dominant women's champion that NXT has seen in recent memory. On top of that, recently, there's just no such thing as a bad Roxanne Perez match. She just keeps getting better and better and better and better. And the fact that she's still in her early 20s is mind-boggling. I didn't even need to think twice about this one. I wasn't a huge Roxanne Perez fan at the same time last year, but now this woman can do absolutely no wrong as far as I'm concerned. She is incredibly good. Let's add Julia to this team, one of the mega stars that NXT recently signed to the developmental system, but there's nothing developmental about Julia because she's already in contention as one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet, and she just happens to be on NXT. And I'm going to make these next ones kind of quick because they all sort of fall within the same agenda that I'm creating here. We have to have Stephanie Vaquer as part of this, because if we're going to have Julia, the recent international sensation, we got to have another recently signed international sensation from Chile in Stephanie Vaquer. And Stephanie Vaquer is so good. If you haven't seen a Stephanie Vaquer match, you're in for a treat. I wish I was you. I wish I could be somebody that could experience a Stephanie Vaquer match for the first time, because it is a symphony of beautiful, beautiful music when she wrestles. And to finish off the trifecta of international signees, we have to add Zarya to the mix, who also recently came over from the international market to NXT. And look, if we're going to have these heavy hitters on Monday Night Raw like Rhea Ripley and on SmackDown like Nia Jax, NXT needs their own heavy hitter with buff JoJo Siwa delivering spears and F5s to everyone around the world. And this last one, I feel like we need somebody that's really representative of what NXT is all about. I wanted to pick the best available talent that could really showcase what the PC is all about. And that to me is Sol Ruca. And this was a tough decision because, yeah, as I was making this, it was a very quick realization that the women's division of NXT is stacked. Because you could have had Kalani Jordan on here. You could have had JC Jane, Gigi Dolan. You could have had so many various options on here that would have been great. But I'm going to go with the one that I think could put on the coolest show, deliver the best moves, and really ooh and awe everybody. And that's Sol Ruca for me. Let's go over to the men, and let's start off with the men of NXT. We have to have the NXT champion. I think you already kind of know what I'm going to have for Raw and SmackDown if I've had every champion thus far. But yeah, we got to have Trick Williams on here. Not only is he the leader of NXT, really, by being the NXT champion, but he's also like the most popular guy, bar none, not even close on NXT. This is also the guy that NXT is clearly building around, and not just NXT, but the CW network has clearly picked that Trick Williams be the guy that represents the mantle of NXT. So if he's been handpicked to be the representative of NXT on NXT TV, then he's obviously going to be the representative of NXT in this made-up Survivor Series match. Oba freaking Femi, and it's over. This match is done. Oba Femi enters the fray. It's over. No one is eliminating him. Oba Femi had maybe the most dominant year that I've ever seen anybody have on NXT ever. He had such a dominant run from his NXT breakout tournament victory into his North American Championship win and reign, to the point where people are just like, you can just bypass the NXT championship at this point. Just throw Oba Femi into the main roster, because he is maybe the most believable guy, the most main roster ready guy, aside from somebody like Ethan Page, who already has just way more experience than Oba Femi in the first place. So if we already are talking about a guy that's main roster ready, that's been as dominant as Oba Femi, I don't think anyone's going to second guess this option. I really debated amongst several people with this third option, because I went between Wes Lee, who I ended up going with, Ethan Page. I even considered like Charlie Dempsey as an option here, because there really are still a handful of other people that you could go with here. But I feel like Wes Lee is the current iteration of NXT through and through, because he was there for it all. He was there for the late end of Black and Gold, Rainbow NXT 2.0, Black and Yellow NXT, and now NXT Black and Silver. Like, this dude is the representation of several generations of NXT at this point. And Wes Lee is just a magnet for unbelievably great moments and unbelievably good matches. And when you're gonna have a match with as much talent as I'm showing you, and you pair all of that talent with somebody like that can do unbelievable things with anybody and everybody on the planet in Wes Lee, you're going to make magic. And here's maybe a controversial one, because we could have added some of those names that I left off, like the Ethan Pages of the world, but I really believe that you gotta have the NXT Tag Team Champions, Nathan Frazier and Axiom, as part of this match. Look, NXT in its history has had some unbelievably good tag team champions. In fact, there was a stretch of time where the NXT Tag Team Championship was maybe the biggest prize in NXT, more than the actual NXT Championship, because the NXT Tag Team Championship would routinely main event shows and takeovers. So that means that you've had some absolutely iconic tag teams come out of the NXT system, like DIY, The Revival, Authors of Pain, Undisputed Era. You could literally go on and on and on with the number of iconic tag teams in NXT history. And now, after knowing that, I'm going to say something that is a hot take that might piss you off. Nathan Frazier and Axiom are the greatest tag team in NXT history, and we just need to accept that, okay? The amount of times that these guys have defended the tag team championships in unbelievably, mind-meltingly good matches is unprecedented. These guys are the best workers that NXT has right now, in my opinion. So not only are they a great representation of NXT because they're the current NXT champions, but they're also a huge representation of what NXT has always been about, which has been just great tag teams in general. And I think that they're the best tag teams out of all the tag teams ever in NXT. Let's go over to Monday Night Raw, and you probably already guessed who my captain is here. That's right, it's Gunther, the ring general, your world heavyweight champion. Look, the last time that Gunther was in one of these, he represented NXT and they eliminated him within 2 minutes. So we need to fix that, all right? We need to go back and retcon this and give the ring general a proper outing as a monster in a Survivor Series match. As I'm realizing here, he's holding the Intercontinental Championship. Oh well, whatever. Look, Gunther is like the darling now of the hardcore wrestling fan. This guy can do absolutely no wrong. Like, he could be the biggest piece of shit heel and people are still going to root for him because he just delivers time and time and time again with his matches. And for a long time now, he's either been at the very top of the mountain of Monday Night Raw as the World Heavyweight Champion or felt like being at the top of the mountain even when he was the Intercontinental Champion for such a long time. This one's a no-brainer. No one's arguing this. We're having Gunther as the team leader here. You want to go from one badass to another? Let's do it. Let's add Braun Breaker to this thing because Braun Breaker would be a menace to society in this match. You know how many spears he would lay out to people in this match? Plus, we already know that Braun Breaker is the future Hall of Famer that the WWE is going to build around. This guy's going to be winning multi-world championships. He's going to main eventing multiple WrestleManias. Let's just start off that journey quickly by having him be part of the representation of Monday Night Raw in this fake fantasy Survivor Series match. But with Braun Breaker being the future of the company, it would be neat to see him go face to face with the people that are already at the top of the food chain, but while also going face to face with some of the people that are slowly following him, like the Obafemis of the world. Seth Rollins is far and away the guy with the biggest star power on Monday Night Raw, so you gotta have him as part of this team. On top of that, we've seen Seth Rollins be this very tribalistic, kind of toxic dude that doesn't like outsiders. He doesn't like when people come back to the WWE to steal his limelight, and I feel like he works well in this ecosystem because he doesn't want the people from other brands stealing the limelight of Monday Night Raw. On top of that, you can't really be the Monday Night Messiah, and you can't have your catchphrase be Monday Night Rollins without being a representative of Monday Night Raw. Look, if Gunther wasn't the World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins would just be the de facto captain of this team. I debated between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk in this spot, and I ultimately went with Drew McIntyre. I went with Drew McIntyre because I tossed a coin. Like, not kidding. I tossed the coin between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, and it landed on heads, which gave me Drew McIntyre. Because they both kind of bring the same vibe and the same feeling to the team, but at the very least, in this scenario, Drew McIntyre brings that big, beefy, meat slapping style of wrestling that Team Monday Night Raw could really benefit from. Plus, like some of the people that we've talked about on the women's side, Drew McIntyre is having the best year of his career, even if he has been losing some major moments throughout the year, but nonetheless, in my opinion, this guy is the breakout superstar of the year as of now. And last but not least, I have Jey Uso on here. He's the most popular guy on Monday Night Raw. He gets the most pop, the most cheers. Why not? I could have had CM Punk. I could have had a couple of other people on here. I could have had Bronson Reed if I really wanted to, but like, dude, Jey Uso has just been such an integral part of Monday Night Raw for the past 12 months that it would be highway robbery to not have him on this team. Now let's go to the men of Friday Night Smackdown to wrap up this video. Yeah, you already know. I was going to have the champion. It's Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is on here. All right. There's not really much to talk about. This dude is the face of SmackDown. Of course, he's going to be on this team. LA Knight has to be part of this team. I, of course, already have Braun Breaker over on the other side, but I'm not picking LA Knight just simply because I picked Braun Breaker for Monday Night Raw. But I picked LA Knight because he's just such a great representative of the SmackDown blossoming mid-card that they have over there. And similar to Jey Uso, he is like the most popular guy on this team in terms of just organic pops every single time he makes it out to the ring. This one I debated with. I almost did not add Roman Reigns to this team because of how often he doesn't really show up to SmackDown, but that really hasn't been the case because ever since he's come back, he has shown up to work pretty consistently on a week-to-week basis. So he is a pretty integral part of Friday Night Smackdown now. And we already have evidence of him working together with other people. We have evidence of him literally teaming up with Cody Rhodes. So this really isn't that far-fetched anymore. as far-fetched as it would have sounded just a couple of months ago to have Roman Reigns be part of this team. I was thinking of adding Solo here, but I ended up going with a scenario where Solo sends his Ultimate Soldier to this battle to represent him and his bloodline in this match. So I actually went with Jacob Fatu. I also went with Jacob Fatu just because of the sheer raw talent that he brings and the fact that there's just so many untapped feuds and matches for Jacob Fatu that could still blossom that you could tease just in this match alone. Imagine him having a face-off with Seth Rollins, a face-off with Drew McIntyre, a face-off we've already seen with Braun Breaker, with Gunther, facing off against Obafemi, Trick Williams. Dude, it would be awesome. And if we want the guy to do the crazy, super flashy moves for Friday Night SmackDown while also packing some punch, it's this dude. It's Jacob Fatu. Again, I considered Solo because he's having such a great year, but like in terms of best available talent, I'm gonna go with Jacob. And last but certainly not least, so long as his neck is all right, we gotta have Randy Orton as part of this team. I considered potentially Kevin Owens as being part of this team, but no, it's Randy Orton through and through. I just don't realistically think that we could make a team of Kevin Owens being on the same team as Roman Reigns, considering Kevin Owens' entire shtick right now is that he's having a midlife crisis because some of his buddies had an okay relationship with Roman Reigns now. So yeah, give me Randy Orton, really pat the stats of this team, increase the resume, the star power, and also increase the length of entrances by an extra 15 minutes with how long Randy's entrance is in 2024. But that's it, folks. I know that many of you have different opinions here. Now is your chance to let me know what your teams would be in the comments section. I'll heart some of my favorites. But that's it, folks. I'm done. Get out of here.